down. We the talk around town. Alex threw the ball to Smokey for a touchdown. Ha. It's fourth down and you don't really want no more. We've been winning from the door. You should check the scoreboard. Ha. Check the scoreboard.
Welcome back to another episode of the Scoreboard. We are entering week 3 in the XFL. We have 2 undefeated teams remaining, and they are clashing this week. So, first big important week coming up. This could be for the one of the milestone games for the North Championship here, but we have a full slate. First of all, Smokey, how are you doing?
Oh man, I'm good. Better than Orlando Guardians fans right now, because apparently
said that last week.
Yeah, I mean, come on, dude. Tyrell Buckley came out after the game and said, "No, we need a whole new team." Basically, we don't like any of these guys. Basically, is what he was saying, and not in those words, but you know, when they asked him, I forgot the exact verbiage that he used, but he said something like, "We need new guys. If we're gonna win, we need different guys." So, I guess he wants to replace the whole team.
I haven't heard you mention the same team twice in back-to-back weeks. That's how you know it's bad.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And I wanted to put the Vipers in there, but I proclaimed myself a Vipers fan prematurely here, and now I don't want to be a Vipers fan anymore. But I guess since I chose it, I have to stick with it. Although I'm really thinking about rooting for the Brahmas here after this week.
Because you know they're gonna win.
Yeah, dude, it's looking like it, right? I mean, maybe The Rock said this. Okay, it's gonna look set up if I just load my team with all the great superstars. So I'll get this group of nobodies. The Brahmas are still gonna win. Like, your bet might be looking good by the end of this season.
It might be. Yeah, they're 6-1 to win it at the start.
Wow.
Still going with the Battlehawks. Still going with my Battlehawks.
But at least you placed the bet, and that might pay off.
Yeah. It might be good. Jack Cohen looked really good.
Yeah, he did. This
week. Granted, it was just against the Guardians. He'll have a bigger challenge this week. We'll see what he can really do.
Absolutely.
Before we get into these picks, what are the standings looking like here for our predictions?
Well, of course, last week we both picked the same teams for every game, and we got 3 of them correct. And if not for a very ugly game on a minor league baseball field or whatever that was out in Vegas, which really looked low class. Now, I do want to say something for... I'll call out the standings here real quick, but I want to say something about the entire league and the reception that it has had. But we got 3 of them right, which brings our total to 5 and 4. I have the 5, you have the 4. But the one thing I do want to say is that there are a lot of people who are NFL fans and NFL fans only, and they go out of their way to make fun of spring leagues, especially the XFL, because of the 2 iterations before that kind of failed pretty quickly. But I gotta say this. If you're a football fan, isn't more football what you want, right? Don't you want to see this? I think these people are fantasy fans, or... you know, they're not real fans, because if you're a real fan, you want to see as much football as possible, in my opinion, and you want to know that these football players that go out there and entertain you every week have a job when they're not in the XFL. And in the case of A.J. McCarron, he could have just stayed as a backup somewhere and actually been making a ton more money, but he's out there playing in front of a crowd to actually just play for less money. So... this is a great league. These are great games, and if you're making fun of the XFL, you got problems. You're not a real football fan, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I don't get it either. Like, everyone's always depressed after the Super Bowl because there's no football for half a year. Like, they're bridging all of spring and summer. I mean, it's great. What more do you want?
Absolutely. Yeah, it hurts me every time I hear someone, these so-called analysts, big time analysts in many cases, and a lot of them are fantasy analysts that do this also. But yeah, you can't call yourself a real football fan if you're going to make fun of leagues trying to give you more football.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is a good thing. Absolutely a good thing. So you have 5, I have 4, because we all picked the same thing. I said last week I was done picking the defenders, picking against the defenders now. They win again. I don't want to get into that situation again. We'll see how it actually turns out when we get to this one. First off, we have the Seattle Sea Dragons at your question mark Vegas Vipers.
Oh man, this is tough. This is tough because I want to say that the Vipers are going to pull it together. But if Rod Woodson continues to think that Luis Perez is not the man, he's going to go with Brett Hundley. I guess he has a little bit more star power in the end, and I'm sure if they continue to lose without playing Brett Hundley, then the questions are going to arise that, why are you not playing the guy who actually has NFL experience? But I think Luis Perez should get into a rhythm if you leave him out there long enough. One drive at the beginning of the game in a rain game in a horrible stadium where they're slipping and sliding all over the place. Another reason why people make fun of the XFL, because they watched a little bit of that game and said, look, they don't even have real football fields, which is stupid. That it was a last minute thing. Now I know Vegas is probably not the best market to have one of these teams in, but they're making do, and I think the Vegas Vipers could pull it together. Rod Smith and John Lovett, that they're going to do great things. Jeff Bidet, we saw him in Week 1. He's great, but you can't expect to be flip-flopping quarterbacks out there and in a bad game and expecting great things. But it seems like Ron Woodson is expecting that. On the other side, the Sea Dragons with Ben DiNucci did almost exactly what he did in Week 1, and did something great and something bad in the exact same game. At times he looks like he is a former NFL quarterback and he should be a star in this league, and then at times he just throws it away in the end. His numbers are not that bad. No interceptions, which that is great to see also with this week, that there are not many interceptions like we saw in Week 1, which had a crazy number, like 15 or something. And this week we only saw 2 in the entire league, which is really good. Morgan Ellison, Brandon Knox, Josh Gordon. He didn't get a lot of passes in this game, but he was great with the one reception he has. Blake Johnson looks great. So coming down to this pick, it's really tough. I want to get behind the Vipers again, but you know what? If Rod Woodson can't pull this together and actually act like a professional coach, which I hate discrediting a Hall of Famer here. I mean, he's obviously a great football player, but you got to be a coach in this situation. The Seattle Dragons were so close to winning those last 2 games. I am going to actually pick against the Vipers and take the Dragons on the road.
I will agree with that with much less explanation than you gave. I think that last point that you made is very... No, worries. The last point you made is really the key one. I mean, the Vipers seem to be in disarray after 2 weeks, and we don't even really know what the quarterback situation is looking like. And Seattle lost two one-score games against the 2 best teams in the league, arguably. The 2 undefeated teams, Defenders and the Battlehawks. So... they may as well have won one or both of those games. I think they're probably a pretty good team. I think they're the second best team in the North, and the Vipers they're looking confused. They kind of look lost. They look lost to me after the first week. They should have won it, obviously, and the defense of the Renegades kind of took it away from that second. And this one, they kind of just seemed like nothing was going on, and they don't seem to be on track. And Luis Perez isn't producing like he was in the USFL, and now he's maybe not starting, or maybe they're rotating quarterbacks. It's usually not a lot of certainty when that kind of thing happens, and you don't like betting on it. I'm going to take the road favorites, actually. 3.5 points in Vegas, which maybe that home field isn't much of an advantage anyway, but I'm taking the Sea Dragons to go to Vegas and win. Battlehawks at the Defenders, game of the week.
Yeah, it is, man. Both of these teams look great right now. I want to say that the Defenders are pulling off their wins in a more dominant fashion, I guess you would say. I mean, it's not like they're crushing teams, but neither are the Battlehawks. I mean, they've won both of these games at the last minute on the back of A.J. McCarron. Like, he's done this in the exact same fashion 2 weeks in a row. And what else can we say about A.J. McCarron? Probably the best quarterback in this league so far, and maybe overall by the time it's all over with. Mateo Durant, he had a lot of rushes, not for many yards. So the running game is not that strong right now. I will say Hakeem Butler looks like a star right now. And, of course, they have Austin Pearl, the week 1 star. So we'll see if Anthony Betts can continue winning. On the other side, Jordan Ta'amu is not much of a passer anymore. Not that he was ever this great prolific passer, but he's just a running quarterback now. I mean, that's about all it seems that he has left in the tank here. De'Aaron King comes in only for runs. I expect at some point in this season, De'Aaron King is going to take over as the starter in the end. Raquel Armstead is out there, and Abram Smith. That's a great running back duo. You got one of the first picks and a former NFL running back out there. Other than that, Lucky Jackson made an appearance again. I love his name, but this is definitely a running team with Reggie Barlow's running offense here. It's tough. I'm going to go with the home team here. I'm just going to give them 3 points and take the DC Defenders to go 3-0 at the end of this week.
Oh man, this is the pick I regret again, huh? I said for 2 weeks, I picked against I picked the Vipers over the Defenders, and I told you, like, right after the game, I'm done picking against the Defenders, and I look up and they play the Battlehawks in week 3. And I'm gonna take it away, right? Because that is not even any tension. I'm picking St. Louis, okay? I'm for the 3rd straight week, I'm picking against the Defenders and against Jordan Ta'amu. And I'll probably drop in another point because they are at home and they are favored by 2.5, which is not much. So this is a very close one. But I'll take the Battlehawks for number 1 being a homer, and number 2, AJ McCarron's like the XFL version of Peyton Manning at this point. He's fantastic. He's the MVP front runner. And I like these more organized teams. I don't like the gimmicky offenses, even though I get that in the XFL, these spring leagues, these lower leagues, they make more sense, the more sort of college style gimmicky offensive ideas. I like what I'm seeing from the Battlehawks, even though of course Jordan Ta'amu used to be the Battlehawks quarterback and he was phenomenal, would have been the MVP of that year had they finished the season, which they unfortunately did not. But I like the offense for St. Louis a lot. I think it's very consistent. McCarron already showing he's a comeback king. He can put last-minute drives together, and he can make it happen through the air, which is something that's very important to establish in these kinds of leagues. So I have the Battlehawks to win at DC, probably for the 3rd time in a row. Losing bet, but I can't not do it. Guardians at the Renegades.
Oh man, the Guardians are bad. This is definitely the Maulers of this league. The Pittsburgh Maulers of the USFL were the worst team in the league, and I don't know if they won one game, maybe it was last year, but
one or two, yeah, not a lot.
Yeah, same thing happening here. It's almost the same quarterback issues. Also, Paxton Lynch is bad. I know he's got the NFL experience, and you want to believe in him if you're Tyrell Buckley, but apparently Tyrell Buckley doesn't believe in any of these players at this point. DeAndre Francois, I think if you leave him in and he gets a rhythm going, he can be great. He's going to be a running quarterback. That's what he does. He's never going to be a prolific passer, but he can do big things on the ground. He actually told the team to shut the F up at one point in time. This team is in disarray. There's no doubt about that. On the other side, when is Kyle Sloter going to come in? Drew Plitt is just as bad as Paxton Lynch, in my opinion. I know they pulled a win off in week 1, but they're bad. It's not good. Drew Plitt is not good. Kyle Sloter has to be better than this. Davion Smith, Sal Cannella, Bob Stoops has to see this at one point and go, okay, everybody's yelling for Kyle Sloter. And actually, on Twitter, one of the fans actually said that when are we going to see Kyle Sloter? And Kyle Sloter retweeted that tweet. So obviously, he seems to be healthy, and he's on the sideline like, yes, when am I going to go in? I think we're going to see it soon. So the Orlando Guardians are so bad, I will take the Arlington Renegades on the road. Oh, no, at home, sorry.
At home, yeah, I'll take them as well. I think this is a very telling. If we look at the sports book here, the Renegades, given they're at home, they're 8.5 point favorites, which just goes to show you how bad the Guardians really are. I think, because remember the Renegades just about stumbled into a win at home against the Vipers, who we can argue either of those teams is probably the second worst in the league right now from what we've seen these first 2 weeks. Even though Seattle lost both games, it was least competitive. Renegades haven't produced much offensively, and you mentioned about Kyle Sloter. Maybe he's coming in, maybe he's not. We don't really know. It seemed to me like he should have been in after the first half in the Vipers game. He should have come in at halftime, and somehow they managed to win that game. And then maybe he's gonna start at some point. I assume that they're gonna look like even Drew Blitz's gonna look pretty good this week, so maybe it'll be delayed again. I have a bold prediction for this one though, which is that the combined score will be less than 15 points in this game.
That may actually be.
That's a very bold. But the over-under is 36.5, and I'm for sure betting on the under in this one, because I don't think the Guardians put a lot together. The Renegades live by their defense. And if Drew Plitt is starting, I can see this could be a 12-0, 9-3 kind of game. Or even like 6-3 or something. It can be a pretty boring game. So I'm definitely taking the under, but I'm also taking the Renegades. I think Guardians look in disrepair. Maulers, maybe worse than the Maulers. If we had to bet for the first head coach to get fired in the XFL, I have a pretty good idea.
Tyrell Buckley?
A pretty good idea. I mean, usually it doesn't happen, right, in those spring leagues, because they only have 10 weeks. It's rare that the head coach gets fired halfway through. It might happen here because the Guardians are looking bad.
Very possible. Hey, you think about it, the other bad teams, they're not going to fire Rod Woodson, Definitely not Hines Ward, especially after that week.
No.
Yeah, he is the most likely candidate at this point.
If there is one in year one, this is probably it. But we'll see. First, the Renegades have to win, because the Renegades are capable of losing. They are capable of blowing games and not showing up. So we can't get ahead of ourselves. But I'm pretty confident in Arlington, just in this one. And then lastly, to close out, we have the battle for Texas, I guess. The Brahmas at the Roughnecks.
Yeah, man. It still amazes me that there's 3 Texas teams in this league. Like, Jesus, can we get something out of Texas, please? Like, half the team is in Texas, but so is the main hub for the XFL in Arlington. So I guess they had to have an Arlington team, and San Antonio, I don't know, I guess The Rock likes San Antonio for some reason. But the Brahmas, Hines Ward got himself a win in a dominant fashion. He's obviously an offensive coach. The guy played wide receiver and quarterback, so he knows how to run a very good offense, and he's doing it here. Kalen Ballage didn't get as much work as he did in week 1, but he still got a lot of work for this league in comparison. Jaquez Patrick almost split the time with him, so Hines Ward likes to run the ball a little bit. Like I said, they had a team full of no names at the beginning of this season, but he knows how to put together an offense, and that's obvious. Now on the other side, you got probably the best defense in the entire league, because Wade Phillips has been around forever, and he is a defensive coach, and he knows how to put together defense. So this should be interesting. I don't think there's going to be as many points scored as there was last week out of the Brahmas. Brandon Silvers and Cole McDonald came in for a little bit. Max Borgie's looking good. They're running back there. That was a surprise to me. Still tough though. Ben Putnam, he put in a little bit of work. You know what? I am going to stick with the team. I mean, I can't even say they're on fire though, to tell you the truth, because the Roughnecks are also 2-0. But I will take the road team. I think the Brahmas are probably going to win this league in the end. I will take the Brahmas on the road.
See, this is the game. Well, this is the hardest one for me to pick. So I'm doing the classic move that I do when I'm behind in predictions. This is the one I'm picking what you don't pick. And I'm not gonna lie, I was hoping a little bit you take the Roughnecks and I could take the Brown. I was hoping for a little bit. Of course, now I'll take Houston for sure. I'll get 4.5 points for it, so it's probably the smart pick either way. But I wanted to make the cool pick, and the cool pick definitely would have been San Antonio, the way they've looked, and of course Hines Ward, the name value. But Houston's the only other one of the last 3 remaining undefeated teams. One of the other two will be defeated this week. And there's a chance. Also, this is why I wanted to pick the Brahmas, is because I wanted to bring the whole narrative of the Battlehawks were the only undefeated team going into week 4. But maybe I can still do it if the Roughnecks lose. But I think they'll win. I'm going to pick them to win. I think it's going to be an extremely close game. I can't really tell, but I think the Roughnecks and Battlehawks are sort of the XFL royalty at this point, because remember in the 2020 version, not the original version, they were also the 2 best teams, and we're probably going to clash later on in the season, but that obviously didn't play out, and they still look to be pretty good. They still look to be 2 of the best teams, so both of them to win, and maybe 3 years delayed, but maybe we get our XFL championship that we deserve with the Battlehawks and Roughnecks.
I was
even though it's probably the Brahmas.
Yeah, I don't doubt it at all. I mean, after seeing the game they put together last week, I would not doubt that. And this team is exciting to watch. Everybody loves a good offense. You like seeing points scored. This is the team for you. Hines Ward knows how to put together an offense. I was looking back at who won the original XFL in 2001, and it happened to be
I have no idea.
The Los Angeles Extreme, which we do not have anymore.
Oof, don't have that.
Yeah, if you take a chance to look back at the original XFL names, like there was crazy, like the Outlaws and the Hitman, and just crazy names that they wouldn't dare use this day and age. But
no shot, no chance.
Yeah,
the Extreme. Well, they had the LA Wildcats in the 2020 XFL.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
but that was too far away from all the other teams, I guess, and they became the Brahmas.
Yeah, they want to keep it as local to Texas as possible, even though
it seems like
Seattle's pretty far out there.
See, if I had a lifeline for this one, which was to make the pick on game day, that would be extremely valuable, because here's why, right? Brahmas played a great game last week, but they blew out the Guardians, okay? The Guardians get blown out by everybody, so that doesn't tell me a whole lot. But the Guardians play Arlington this week. If the Renegades put up 30 points, I'm picking the Roughnecks for sure. Because that discredits everything the Brahmas did last week. That just means the Guardians are pushovers. If Drew Plitt can put up 3-4 touchdowns, I'm much less impressed with that San Antonio performance from week 2. And I'll pick the Roughnecks for sure. And again, the Roughnecks also padded stats against the Guardians in week 1. So
I agree with that. Yeah. This week's going to tell a lot in this league. It'll definitely set straight the power rankings going forward after this week.
What's your power rankings this week? If you had to give them, no, it's tough to do. But if you had to give,
it'd probably be good to go through them every couple of weeks or so. See what it looks like.
Yeah.
Number 8 would be Orlando Guardians. Obviously, they are the worst team in the league so far. Followed up by the Vegas Vipers.
Don't disagree.
Vegas Vipers. I think the best of the 0-win teams is the Seattle Dragons, so they will be at 6. And then it comes down to the 1-1 teams. I think the Brahmas, as far as last week, looked better than the Renegades. So I've got the Renegades at 5 and the Brahmas at 4. And then you got your undefeated teams. The Arlington Roughnecks are probably the worst, in my opinion, of that. I mean, they're a defensive team, and they could win it all just by running the ball and playing defense, and it's definitely worked sometimes. And then the top 2. Now, this is going to be the point of contention between me and you, obviously, but I had to pick at number 1 the DC Defenders, because I picked them to win this game this week. So there was no choice but to put the DC Defenders at number 1 and the St. Louis Battlehawks at number 2.
That is true. Okay, I'll give you mine. I have 2 disagreements. So, stuff the Guardians at 8, not really debate. Vipers, yeah. So, but then I'll make the first sort of bold move. I'm going Renegades at 6. I actually think Seattle over Arlington at the moment, even though Seattle hasn't won a game. They've lost 2 close ones. Happen to be against the 2 top teams, St. Louis and DC. I think Seattle's going to soundly beat the Vipers, and I think next week Seattle's playing the Brahmas, and that's gonna be an interesting one. That's gonna be a good matchup. But I'll take Arlington at 6, Seattle at 5. So that's my first deviation there. And then of course, yes, Battlehawks are number 1. I'm sorry, but it's true, right? Brahmas 4, probably Roughnecks still at 3. Defenders at 2, Battlehawks number 1. AJ McCarron's too good. He is XFL Peyton Manning. He is the XFL frontrunner MVP. He's an Alabama quarterback. Everything right. Just doesn't throw interceptions, makes plays, very clean. I have to put the Battlehawks. Got to put them at number 1. Now, of course, if they lose and lose soundly this week, next week I'll have to adjust a little bit. Might have to put the Defenders ahead of them. But I think we're going to see the Sea Dragons win. I think we'll see the Renegades struggle. They'll win against the Guardians, but I think we'll see them struggle down the line. And I think things will fall in place where we have Seattle ahead of Arlington, just because of that Arlington offense looks bad. It's bad. It's not convincing. How is the fantasy world looking in the XFL?
It was tough because nothing that happened in week 2 worked with anything like week 1. It was polar opposites here, because in week 1, Luis Perez was in the top 2 quarterbacks, and this time he was obviously down at the very bottom of the barrel. So if you played Luis Perez, you were out of luck this week. And especially, there was a word that came out that game was going to be a rain game before it started, so a lot of people pivoted off of Luis Perez anyway. And then the talks of Brett Hundley might be coming in. Ben DiNucci still didn't do anything great for you. Let's see. I didn't even check to see who was the number 1 quarterback this week. I'm guessing it was Teamu or Jack Cohn. I just know my lineups that I put together did not do nearly as well as week 1. But it'll get easier as time goes on if you are playing DFS for this league. I don't know that there's any season-long leagues for this. I mean, there may be some that got put together out there, but I know the big platforms don't run the XFL. Like, you're not going to go to Yahoo or ESPN and run an XFL league. Not that I've seen, at least. If there are, that'd be crazy, but I couldn't find any. So it's all DFS from here, and if I going forward, I would put some money on, I want to say Jack Cohn because of that performance last week. But he's going against the best defense in the league. You may want to take an outside shot on Kyle Sloter if he actually gets put in this game, because Drew Plitt is so bad. His price is going to be pretty low, so you can throw him in your lineup and save some money. DeAndre Francois may take over full time for the Guardians. Not that they score a lot, but that will be a very cheap value that you can put in there. AJ McCarron, Teamu, and DiNucci are probably your most expensive quarterbacks out there, so you probably don't really have a lot for great wide receivers and running backs outside of that. But I will say, take advantage of Cody Lattimore. I know it's on the Guardians. He is a tight end, and tight ends are always undervalued, but so far through 2 weeks, he has been scoring in the top 20% of wide receivers in this league. And for the discount you get for taking a tight end, because the way they run them are flexes rather than you just have 2 set wide receivers and a set tight end. They just run a couple of flexes in these lineups, so you can plug in Cody Lattimore instead of taking a chance on seeing if Martavius Bryant is going to come through this week, which he hasn't so far this year. Josh Gordon's always a good play. He's probably going to be the most expensive wide receiver out there. If you want to plug him in, it's almost sure that he's going to get at least 1 deep bomb, and if it's a good game and they're scoring well, then he's going to put in a lot of work for you. But it's just being smart with your money and the allotment they give you to plug in players. Yep, maybe I will score or at least reap the benefits more so than last week, and hoping to make up for that.
I like the idea of just starting whatever quarterback potentially will play the Guardians. Like, if you got Kyle Sloter cheap and you gambled on him like being prominently featured in this game, that could be that could win you the week,
absolutely.
I think.
If Kyle Sloter,
play the Guardians.
If he gets plugged in there, he's going to be cheap in your lineup. So you can put Abram Smith or someone in there, even though he's more expensive, you'll have the money to use to throw him in there. So if Kyle Sloter starts, he's going to play the weakest defense in the league. He's going to score a lot. He's a proven quarterback. That's a really smart play.
Maybe even play just whoever is the Renegade starting quarterback. Just start him.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel that great about Drew Plitt. I want to actually see if I can bring up some prices for this coming week here. What do we?
I know Ben DiNucci actually did pretty good. Even this last week, he lost, but statistically speaking, he was very good for Seattle.
Well, Ben DiNucci is the second highest quarterback, right behind A.J. McCarron. He's only $100 cheaper. So if you want to take the chance on DiNucci, you're going to suffer at other positions. But if you're taking a Cody Lattimore or something like that for your flex, then you'll be fine. You can afford that. Luis Perez is still in the middle of the pack right there with Jordan Teamu. Jack Cohn is... I want to take a chance on him, like I said, but he's playing the best defense. And let's see, where do they... Wow. Where is... Am I overlooking Sloter? Wow.
It's probably way down because no one's expecting him to even start.
$6,000 compared to $10,600 for A.J. McCarron. If Sloter starts, that's going to be the play of the week, in my opinion.
If he starts, that's for sure good value.
If you're playing DFS, sure. I would throw some lineups together for Kyle Sloter, and then you can pivot at the last minute if you have to. But, man, that's going to be the play of the week if he does start.
If he does, we'll see when we get the news. I'm wondering, because it feels like at some point or other he does have to start, and then you might as well throw him in against a weak defense, get him into a good rhythm, right?
Wow, yeah, I'm definitely building some Kyle Sloter's lineups.
Like next week, just for reference, next week they're playing the Battlehawks. That might not be the week you want to throw in a new quarterback.
Get him in there now so he can feel good, get into a rhythm, playing a weak team, get him a win. Yeah, Bob Stoops, get on that.
Exactly. Yeah. Unless he's really bought into Drew Plitt for the future.
The guy has no record.
I don't see that.
Like, he's never played in the NFL. Like, I don't even know where he went to college, to tell you the truth. I want to look that up. Like, Drew Plitt was a name that just came out of nowhere. Week 1 of the XFL. And everybody expected...
Just started over... Yeah. We just thought Kyle Sloter he still has to have that lingering injury right from the USFL, otherwise he'd be starting.
You would think, but he's even on Twitter wondering why he's not starting. Oh, he went to Ball State. He was the Ball State quarterback. Young guy. He's only 25, but I don't...
Maybe they're thinking higher ceiling probably than Sloter, but...
He went...
Don't know if you can bank on that in the first season.
Yeah. So his last year was 21 at Ball State, and he was undrafted in 22. That's why no one heard about him, and he didn't even go in the supplemental or free agency or anything.
He was undrafted in 2022 draft?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, so he could have easily landed on the Niners if it wasn't for Brock.
Yeah.
They were probably like flipping a coin backstage between like him, like Purdy, Plitt, and like Carson Strong or something.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
I think Carson Strong even got signed to a practice squad somewhere, right?
I think so. He must have. Yeah, I was actually I'm very guilty of when I saw the final pick. I was like wondering who the hell is Brock Purdy? If you need a quarterback, Carson Strong's on the board. I had like a 4th round grade on Carson Strong. Like, who is Brock Purdy?
Your quarterback, man. That's who he is. I heard about Brock Purdy.
That's why I'm not a scout.
Where'd he go? Iowa State, yeah. I heard about him here and there, it's not like he was setting the world on fire, but he was a name that would come up, and you remember when you hear that name because the last name is Purdy, but yeah, I didn't expect him. I thought he would be an undrafted free agent signed to a practice squad somewhere.
That's what I thought. But that's why I'm not a scout, right? That's why they know more than I do, which is good, I guess. Turned out pretty favorably.
Absolutely.
That's how it goes. But that is our picks for week number 3 in the XFL. We disagreed on only one, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. No,
okay. No, wait, we two, right? You picked the Defenders?
Battlehawks.
Right, yeah.
And you picked the Roughnecks.
Battlehawks and the Roughnecks.
Yeah.
For me, exactly. So, I'm winning 4 points this week. Just putting it out there, it's gonna happen. AJ McCarron is reliable. Brent Silvers is also reliable. So, Battlehawks, Roughnecks. Easy win, but let us know your picks anyway. See if you disagree or agree with any of these. And, what's the outlook for the Guardians? I really want to know. Do you think we're gonna see a head coach fired in the XFL in the first 10 weeks of opening season? I don't know. If it goes really bad, like 0-4, 0-5, it might happen. It might be. All right, but we'll see. We'll have to see. Do you have anything to add, Smokey?
Nah, I think that's it for this week.
Awesome. Then drop us a like, and we're gonna see you in the next one.
Deuces.
Check the scoreboard. Ha.